president of the Yes Network, Tracy Dolgin. He joins us now. Tracy, how you doing?
Good, Michael. How are you? How's Don? How's Peter?
Everybody's good. Everybody's good. So what's the deal? I mean, is this going to happen? Is there going to be a deal between Yes and Comcast?
Well, let me first put this in a little perspective. This isn't like Comcast taking off the sewing channel. They are taking off they have taken off, unilaterally taken off, the number one most watched regional sports network, not just in New York, but in America. They've unilaterally taken off the number one watched baseball team in America, the Yankees. And I know that Don is going to start screaming and yelling at me when I say this, but they own another regional sports network in New York. They actually own 8 total regional sports networks, but they own one in New York, which is a network I happen to like a lot, SNY. They do a great job. They had a team that did great last year, the Mets. That network's been around 10 years. So in the 10 years they've been around, which we've been around for 14 years, as you guys all know, we've outrated them, and this is Nielsen numbers, not really Comcast sort of voodoo spin numbers. We've outrated SNY, start of the day to finish the day, on average, by 69% over that 10-year period of time. It's amazing. Even the Mets last year had a phenomenal season. Enjoyed watching them tremendously. We still outrate them. And if you look beyond sports, and even if you want to compare it just to regular television, and as we all know, you don't watch television. Sports is very different than you watch other television. You're passionate, you care, right? You don't DVR it, you watch it live, it's exclusive. All those great things. Here's a great one. Last season in the New York DMA, Yes was the number one cable network and the number 3 network overall on the nights that the Yankees played. And so this is the network that Comcast comes out and says, people don't care about it. It's a niche network. Let's just turn them off. We don't worry about pissing off our consumers. So we're talking about a situation where someone intentionally takes off one of their most popular networks unilaterally in the middle of the night. So it's not a good situation if you're a Comcast customer living in New Jersey or Connecticut, where most of their subscribers are.
So what is the difference between Yes and SNY as far as the deal with Comcast is concerned? Is it similar? Is it more for you because of the popularity? What's the discrepancy between the two networks as far as Comcast is concerned?
Well, the biggest discrepancy as far as Comcast is concerned, which is the same discrepancy they have with all of the 8 networks that they own that are regional sports networks, is one of the networks they own, SNY, and the other one is just a content provider.
Right.
So they don't treat us the same way as they treat those guys. But maybe it would be helpful, and again, interrupt me, ask me. I will answer any question on the record. I got nothing to hide about this. But maybe it would be a little bit helpful to tell you how we got where we are, and then maybe you'll understand my opinion of why there's a really good chance that if you are a Comcast subscriber, one of 900,000, 39% of which are loyal Yankee fans, which, by the way, is the most popular team of any sports team in the New York DMA, above the Giants, above the Jets, above the Mets. Go through the list of the teams. I mean, we're talking, the Yankees are the most popular team. It might be helpful to sort of show you how we got here.
Okay, just not to interrupt, but how do you come to that conclusion? Like, what are some of the numbers you throw out to draw that conclusion?
Scarborough Research.
Okay.
Scarborough Research basically does a poll and asks you to identify yourself if you're a fan of a sports team. And in the New York DMA, we got, I think we were almost 40%, 39-point-something percent, which was the more fans than any other team in the marketplace, which is pretty amazing, because football is so popular and the ratings are so high on football. But I guess it's not surprising. I mean, the Yankees have a very long history, of greatness, 18 out of 21 playoff appearances. So I don't think people are too surprised by that. But obviously Comcast doesn't really care about the fact that, a predominant amount of their fans, the people who subscribe and pay good money for their product, are fans of the Yankees. They're not hurting a few people. They're hurting a lot of people.
Now Tracy, we had a caller call in earlier in the show. He said he's a Comcast customer. He called them up and said, I want the Yankees. And they said The Yes Network is asking for a 33% increase. Not enough of our people care about the Yankees, and we're not going to pass that along. But I also found it interesting, and I wonder if you do, that since they took Yes Network off the air in October, they've not refunded any money over that time to any of their subscribers. So they're making money without carrying the Yes Network, so it seems like a no-brainer for them to keep doing this.
Well, Michael, let me just try to give it a little bit of the history, okay? Because what they spin and what the facts are don't ever seem to correspond. And this is quick, and then interrupt me anytime you want. So about last February, we had a long-term deal with Comcast, and it ran out, right, as deals do, and we started to renegotiate the deal. Now, Comcast, unlike in the rest of the country, isn't a really big cable operator here. They're one of the biggest in the United States, but they only have 900,000 subs. They're like the fourth biggest distributor, in the New York area. And so the way these deals usually work is the big guys, the biggest guys who have the biggest market power, the distributors, they grind the networks as hard as they can. They come to what they believe is a fair market price, which is what, each side is willing to do and agree to with the other. And that's the price that everybody else pays or more. So we'd already done deals previously with the bigger distributors, bigger than Comcast.
Like Time Warner and Cablevision.
Yeah, like those guys.
Okay.
And Verizon, another example, right?
Right.
So we'd done deals, and so we had set the market price. So we were negotiating with Comcast, and they didn't disagree with the price. They didn't say no to the price. They agreed to pay that price. In fact, they not only agreed to pay the price, they actually started way back in, let's call it February of 2015, paying that price without a new signed deal. And we kept extending the deal week by week by week by week. Now, put yourself a little in perspective here. If you remember back in those times, Comcast was trying to buy Time Warner to become the biggest cable operator in this area. Now, the government didn't see fit to let that happen. But if we had turned Comcast off, when they wouldn't sign a deal with us. Now they're paying the higher rate, but they wouldn't sign a deal with us. If we had turned them off, that dispute would have lasted about 3.5 seconds because they wouldn't want to let it get in the way of them becoming the biggest distributor and buying Time Warner. But we didn't turn them off, and we didn't turn them off for two reasons. One, we actually try to be partners with our distributors. I know that sounds crazy. And number two is that I have been here at the network, not as long as you, Michael, but I've been here at the network for 12 years, since 2004. Since 2004, we have not been off the air with one of our major distributors for 1 second. And the reason for that is that I know how much our Yankee fans, our Net fans, our NYCFC fans, our fans of your show care about this network. It's part of how they define themselves. It's just not another show. So to me, going off the air, taking someone off the air is beyond the last resort.
Now, because we're trying to be fair, we're talking with Tracy Dolgin, the Yes Network president and CEO. We asked somebody from Comcast to come on. They refused, but they do give this statement, so I'll read it to you and you can answer. Quote, this dispute comes down to one reality. Fox and Yes are demanding more than a 30% increase for a network that has very low viewership among our customers, which is already the most expensive RSN in the country. It is also 35% more expensive than the average cost of the next 10 most expensive RSNs in the USA, according to SNL Kagan data. It remains our hope to bring Yes back to our customers, but we can only do that if Fox becomes realistic with its price demands. This is the first cable network we have dropped. The excessiveness of Fox demands is confirmed by the fact that we are not the only distributor who has refused to agree to pay Yes exorbitant fees. For example, Dish also does not carry Yes.
So it's going to take me about 20 minutes to refute all of this incredible spend. So let me try to get to every one of their questions, as simply as I can.
Okay.
And we'll go one by one here. First of all, they started paying that new rate in February. Okay, the same rate the bigger distributors were paying. We extended, right? They promised us they wouldn't drop us when the season ended because obviously, that would be just giving them all the leverage in the world. And we believe them. The season ends, now you're in November, okay? The Yankees aren't on anymore, right? They drop us in the middle of the night. They then go start with the spin that you just talked about, and they said that it's because we demanded a huge price increase. In November, when they dropped us, there was no price increase. They had been paying that price just like everyone else since February of that year.
Now, were they when they raised the price in February, when you guys raised the price, was there an arduous negotiation? Were they clearly begrudgingly paying more for you guys, or was it not even a conflict, and then out of the blue they just dropped you guys?
Not even a conflict. They agreed to pay the price and paid it, and they paid it all throughout that Yankee season. So if we weren't worth it, back when they were trying to buy Time Warner, and we weren't worth it on opening day and at the All-Star break and in their pennant race in September, for some reason now we were not worth it in November. Now, let me just go through a few more spins, which are just sort of unbelievable that they say what they say, right? They call us the most expensive regional sports network there is, all right? Let me give you a very interesting fact by someone who knows better, the Comcast people who know better. What we charge Comcast, which, by the way, is what we charge the bigger distributors in this marketplace, and Comcast willingly agreed to pay. Comcast has 8 regional sports networks, right? All of Comcast subs here, the ones in New Jersey, they're in what we call the inner market. Well, we charge Comcast for those subs. Comcast has 8 regional sports networks. Several of their networks charge more, right, to both, I guess, themselves and to other distributors for their own regional sports networks. So they're looking at some report that may blend rates, or I don't even know where they get the information, but it's not. Comcast is saying something they know is not true because they do it
how about
themselves.
The one line that jumps out, Tracy, has very low viewership among our customers?
Okay, so let's first go to the obvious facts, some of which we've already talked about. Maybe they're saying for some reason our Yankee ratings now aren't any good anymore, right? That they sort of went down as the season went on, and though it was worth it maybe for them at the beginning of the season to pay that, the Yankee ratings sort of declined as the season went on. In Comcast households, Yankee ratings in the second half of the season after the All-Star break went up 21%. Okay, 21% higher after the All-Star break than before the All-Star break. Okay, given that we are the most watched regional sports network in the country, and they own 8 of them, if they're saying that our ratings, right, don't make us significant enough to keep on the air, then how could their regional sports networks possibly be significant? Are you telling me, well, we know the answer because the Yankees are the most watched team, and the S Network's the most watched regional sports network, but the Phillies in Philadelphia are a more watched regional sports network? Or how about a network they have like Comcast New England, which only has the Celtics, doesn't even have a baseball team? They're saying this. It is pure spin.
Well, like you said,
we're using Nielsen facts.
They want to promote their own company, their own channels. Now, I'm just going to ask this question because I live in a sports world. So I'm with you, and you're throwing out these numbers about the Yankees, but from their perspective, are they saying, yeah, but compared to other channels, period, the ratings are considered low? Because in the sports world, yeah, you're number one, but when we're living in a world where there's cooking channels and there's news channels and everything else, that sports still finishes with a smaller rate. Is that fair to say? How would the Yes Network compare to all the other networks that Comcast has and supplies?
Well, I'm going to reread this stat to you, Don, okay? But then I'm going to answer the question the way, it'll be really understandable to your viewers of how ridiculous this is. Again, last season in the New York DMA, Yes was the number 1 cable network and the number 3 network overall on the nights that the Yankees played. That's against all.
So that's against CNN, Fox News, MSN, anything. It's the number 1 cable network.
If you put the broadcast networks in, they were number 3 when the Yankees are playing. And that's our big product. Just like SNY's big product is the Mets. And again, Don, very important. They're a distributor, but they also own
Right.
regional sports networks. They talk out of both sides of their mouth. If we're the biggest, which we are, okay, and included, again, and I'm not insulting SNY and the Mets, okay, but we are bigger than the Mets. We've outrated the Mets. And by the way, there's another key difference, Don, between the Yes Network and the Yankees and SNY and the Mets. And I've heard you say it on the air, so this is not meant to be insulting at all. You're talking about a network. When you do long-term cable deals, consistency is really important because you're not doing a deal for 1 year, right? You're doing a deal for 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 10 years. So, the Yankees have been in the playoffs 18 out of 21 years. I know the Mets had a great year last year. I enjoyed it. Everyone enjoyed it, okay? But the Mets are more like a 1 or 2 times a decade getting into the playoffs kind of team. And so we compare well against all kinds of programming. And by the way, this is the real key thing. If Comcast was actually sincere in what they said, then they would be taking the SNY off. They'd be taking all of their regional sports networks off. But the reason they don't do that is because regional sports networks are their most important programming. It's because versus an entertainment program. So I have a lot of shows. I know that you guys have a lot of shows you'd like to watch on TV, but I like The Walking Dead, okay? I think it's a great show, all right? So AMC, I think, is a great channel. So Comcast, let's say they drop AMC. And I do not believe, by the way, that Comcast has never dropped the channel before. I think they were in a dispute with the Tennis Channel as an example, so I guess they must have dropped them. I mean, there are other channels they drop. They just make things up. But let's just say you and I are both huge fans of The Walking Dead, and let's say Comcast drops them. It's inconvenient. It's bad. It ruins my Sunday night. But at least with an entertainment program, right, if I'm willing to wait 6 months or a year, I could catch up on Netflix or Hulu or Apple TV. If you miss opening day of the Yankees, and God knows, Michael, I don't even know what was the last opening day you missed of the Yankees, but if you miss opening day of the Yankees, or you miss the first time our big three closers come in and strike out 9 batters on 27 pitches, you watch that kind of history, when you watch, if you miss that, it's done. You've missed history. There's no way to catch up. It's over, and you define yourself as a Yankee fan. You've hurt your life. You have. It makes a difference.
All right, let's get to the crux of this. You're Tracy Dolgin, the president and the CEO of Yes, so you know what's going on here. Yankee fans what am I going to do? If you're going to advise Yankee fans, do you tell them that this deal is not happening? Because it's getting nasty now. You're putting up posters. You're doing interviews. What do you tell Yankee fans? Go get DirecTV? Go get what are you telling them? Is this deal have a chance or not?
Well, given the fact that they paid the rate for 9 months, they turned us off in the middle of the night in November after promising not to, and then we didn't even get to the best part, Michael, which is why it leads me to believe there will be no deal, right? So they turn us off, and I think you alluded to this afterwards. They turn us off, which means they're not paying us anymore. They're saving money. Forget about charging the same amount, okay, without one of their most important channels, the number one regional sports network in America. Forget about that. Literally, right, very soon after they turn us off, they announce 2 things. They announce, number one, that if you're a Comcast customer, and I don't know if any of you guys are a Comcast customer, I hope you're not.
We are not.
Okay. On your bill, they very pointedly put something on which I call the Regional Sports Network Tax, which is a surcharge that they put on their bill to basically scapegoat regional sports networks as the reason Comcast is making so much money. Okay? So they put a surcharge on the bill. Again, we call it a Regional Sports Network Tax on every Comcast bill. So when we're on the air, right, they have, let's call it $1 surcharge on the bill. They take the Yes Network off, and soon thereafter, they triple the surcharge. So you're missing the most popular, the most watched regional sports network on their air. They only really have 3 of them, right? You're missing 1 out of those 3 networks, and you triple your surcharge. Does that sound like the kind of consumer-friendly customer that cares about their fans? And then, of course, they raise their whole bill price 4%. So to me, it's not very consumer friendly to charge more and give them less.
Now,
Even if you're not a Yankee fan, you're worse off.
Tracy, I lived through this the first year of Yes. It was before you got there, and Cablevision kept the Yankees and Yes off of Cablevision systems for a year because I guess they were ticked off because the Yankees used to be on MSG. But the only way it gets solved is when politicians get involved. So when do politicians get involved in this?
I don't know. I really don't know. What the purpose, though, and I think this is how we all started this question, the purpose of you asked the question of why we're doing what we're doing and what we're doing. I'm not running ads, spending millions of dollars across television, radio, including your radio station, right? Newspapers like the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, all the local papers in Connecticut, in New Jersey. Outdoor, as you mentioned, if you went to the Port Authority today, it would be covered, with our messaging. Unfortunately, we all live in a social media world, and that's where a lot of people get their news and information. So, and we're on Facebook and Twitter. So we're all over the place. If you're a Comcast customer, you're going to know that you are in serious risk of losing this. I'm not doing this to punish Comcast. Why I'm doing this is because exactly the reason I said what makes sports so special. I will not feel very good if a Comcast customer goes and just expects that this thing is going to get solved, whereas there's literally no negotiation going on. You
guys are not talking at all.
Not talking at all, okay? If they wake up on April 4th and expect to turn on for the, how many years in a row, the 14th year in a row, the
15th.
Yes Network, 15th year in a row, the Yes Network, and see the Yankees opening day, they're never going to, they're gone. It's done. History's over. They have no chance. And so, Comcast is making their customers feel like victims. I don't want Yankee fans to be victims. They have something they can do about it if they do it now, right? If they do it now, they go to I'm really trying just to inform people that they have a choice and that they're such big fans. I don't want them to miss the thing they love the most, and so they can go to keepyesnetwork.com, which is on every ad, or 1-800-8-KEEP-YES. And if you go on and you put your address in, it'll tell you which providers are having the Yankees and the Yes Network available. And I think one of the last questions I didn't ask, and then you can go back and remind me of all the questions I missed, was Comcast's statement that not everybody carries us, and they talk about the Dish Network. The Dish Network never, ever carried Yes in its entire history, okay? And because they couldn't attract any sports fans because they didn't have the Yes Network on from day one, two things happened. One, this is their lowest penetrated region in the entire country for them. I think they have only like 350,000 subs. And number two is they realized they can't be in the sports business without the Yes Network, the number one regional sports network. So, Don, they dropped your beloved SNY, and they dropped MSG. They don't carry any regional sports networks. So if you're a sports fan, you don't get Dish. I mean, it's just not an option.
Tracy, I hope this gets worked out. A lot of Yankee fans care about it. I like, 900,000 more people to hear me, so I hope this gets worked out. Good luck.
Yeah, and Michael, I can just leave you with sort of one last thought. They paid for this network for this 9-month period of time, the same rate everybody else was paying, and they dropped us. I wish I had a magic wand to turn it back on, but they dropped us, and there's nothing that I can do about it, and they don't care that their customers are pissed off. So, you just got to hope it's not a strategy. I hope this works out, but hope it's not a strategy. I think, the customers really need to, who love the Yankees this much, need to go find some place where, they're appreciated and they can be seen.
Thanks, Tracy. We appreciate it.
All right. Have a good one, guys.